Yes, boy!
Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro,
like-
less people wanted that than are currently watching our
Hey,
streams.
bro.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
The man has come around to the Mark It Down podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cascone. Sorry, I spoiled the big reveal there. I'm on my own tonight reviewing Monday Night Raw. And I've missed the first hour, so not off to a great start. We found out that Sheamus beat Pete Dunne in a one-on-one match. We'll see later on. He did get pretty beat up, though. We'll see how long I keep this hair on before I scratch it off. Man, it's itchy. And then afterwards, Maxine and Ivy Nile were supposed to have a match, but it got interrupted with the Wyatt Six. I guess they're not done killing Chad Gable and American Made because I guess that wasn't settled already, and they're going to have something else next week. But what I did walk into the second hour as we start, CM Punk, he comes down to the ring. Saw him this weekend at Fanatics Fest. Don't worry, we'll go over that after Raw. But he comes down to the ring. He's got the big old strap, that brown leather, the good stuff, you know, use your safe word. That's what's going on here. And he cuts his cookie cutter promo, the nice guy promo. And here's what I'll say. Punk used to be my favorite pro wrestler for such a long time. And I still like him. But I feel like his promos are more from the heart, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But he used to have such great promos that would cut through you and were very precise and well thought out. And when he speaks from the heart, he kind of loses some of that edge. And also, when you're trying to be a nice guy and you left AEW the way that you left it, it's not that I blame him specifically. I think there was multiple issues. More than one party was at fault, but still, you left the place worse off than you found it. It's hard to your nice guy attitude doesn't resonate as well with me as maybe it does some other viewers. Anyway, Punky gets to his point. He takes a handful of bracelets. If you're watching us on social media, you'll know that the bracelets were wild this weekend at Fanatics Fest. Everybody made bracelets for every one of their superstars. The handmade bracelets, it's insane how many they are. Like, you know, like Jeff Hardy with his armbands, these superstars could like wear armbands full of friendship bracelets. James in the comments was so disappointed by Sheamus versus Dunn, made Dunn look like a bum. That's sad to hear because Sheamus looked all kinds of beat up later on in the evening, so I figured maybe it was a competitive match. And James being a CM Punk hater this time around. We'll see what happens when we meet Punk sometime. Although we didn't. Were you there? No, you were there Sunday at Fanatics Fest. Punk was there on Saturday and kind of like undisclosed on Friday. He was there, but like not making appearances and whatnot. But let's go back to our regularly scheduled program. I wrote notes because I'm a good boy. I'm the man. And I've come around. Okay. So Drew comes out and, you know, he doesn't beat around the bush. He's just basically, yeah, I accept your strap match. Like, let's do it. And Punk like invites him to the ring, or maybe Punk invited him to the ring first. I don't remember, but he says like, oh, I'm not coming to the ring. You got the strap. And like, Punk's like, I'll put the strap down. Even better, I'll give you the I hope everything's good. James just entered. James just entered the chat. Anyway, Punk says, I'll do you one better. I'll give you the strap. You just give me my bracelet. That seems like a pretty fair deal to me. But Drew, I feel like being the best Drew that he can be, and just the guy who's kind of, relatable. He's just like, nah, I don't believe you. Like, you're a liar. You're a hypocrite. You'll probably like, let me get my guard down, and then you'll, do something nefarious. So like, no, I'm not going to do that. Screw you. I'll see you at Bash at Berlin for this strap match. And I think that's definitely what this pay-per-view needed. It's already like a good card. It's shaping up to be a very good card. But I think this is a great match for the card that, I'm excited to see. What about you guys? Let me know. Regardless, I was a little surprised. I haven't been watching Raw religiously lately since my last review, I think like 2 weeks ago. Sorry, the wig's getting a little itchy. But I figured they were just going to do the October Hell in a Cell match and like just kind of prolong it till then, because not everybody has a pay-per-view every, month. It's a lot of times these guys, they'll take one off and to have other people on the roster fill that pay-per-view and then we'll get on the next one. But we're doing 2 pay-per-views in a row. And do we have a September pay-per-view? That's the question. I don't think so, but I can't think off the top of my head. If we do and you think of it, let me know. Maybe I'll think of it, or maybe I'll look it up on my phone. But I'm going to stick on the review for now. So that match is set for Bash at Berlin, like I said. And what happened next? Oh, we got a cool video package of Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. And they're like in a cool kind of corridor setting. It's not too cheesy, but it looks cool. Okay, we got from our experts here at Mark It Down, we have the NXT No Mercy in September. We've actually talked about this before. I remember the last time I was on the pod, or maybe it was in our group chat. I asked, I'm like, what's in September? I don't think of anything. I don't really watch NXT, but shape it up to be something cool. I mean, I do like Joe Hendry. He might become number 1 contender, and I do like the current NXT champion, Ethan Page. Big fan, so that could be a cool match. So we'll have to see come September. But first, we got this review, and then we have Bash at Berlin. Then we also still have to talk about Fanatics Fest, guys. So a lot to do tonight, and it's a work night. So I'm just going to try and keep moving forward, as I say, and I got to keep not messing up my notes here. Scrolling up and down. Wrong way. Okay. So back to the video package with Dom and Liv. It's got the cool background. It's got cool sound, like background music. And they show solid B-roll. And it's like, this is how you make compelling content. Like, this is really good stuff. It's not overdone. It's not too complicated. It gets to the point. It's engaging, and it's well done. I think I said some of those things multiple times, but just saying, like, kudos to the people doing these packages. I feel like we're light years ahead of the Vince era and the Kevin Dunn era of pro wrestling, which had its moment in the sun, was top tier at one point, but definitely got dated and has been dated for quite some while. So I feel like the future is looking bright, especially if they keep going in these kind of directions, making good choices like this. And you know what? Good faith, experiment a little bit. Go for it. If you guys want to experiment with some stuff, not everything's going to stick, but you got to keep being creative and innovative. That's art. That's pro wrestling. That's life, man. That's what I'm telling you. So anyway, tonight we're going to get Dominic Mysterio wants to take on Damian Priest one-on-one. Nobody ringside, no Judgment Day, no Rhea Ripley, nada. Just mano y mano, you and me, pal. So that's what's the gauntlet's been laid down. Next up, we've got Odyssey Jones and the New Day. Specifically, they have a match with the Final Testament, a 6-man tag or a trios match, as the kids call it, whatever you want to, trios tag, whatever you want to say. But very specifically, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they're still wearing their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gear, which they're rocking to, support the toy line. It's strange. It's not the first time WWE has done a Ninja Turtles crossover, but it's the first time they haven't done all 4 turtles. I talked about it on the pod before, but I can confirm it's just the 2 turtles, Mikey and Donnie, and then Shredder as Roman Reigns as Shredder. And it's just kind of like, I know maybe you wouldn't put Big E because he's not wrestling, but even if you did Big E, you only have 3 turtles, not 4. But it's like, I don't know, throw somebody else in there. Maybe Master Splinter. You have options, guys. 3 just sounds kind of random, and especially I feel bad for big Raphael and Leonardo fans, though. Those are the 2 turtles I think that get the most attention or get taken the most seriously out of the 4. But I digress. Anyway, specifically, it's New Day and Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones and New Day. Odyssey Jones has his own gear on. Not my favorite gear of his. I think he has some really cool gear, like the black and purple and the black and orange. The baby blue, I like that you took a chance here, but not working for me. It's going to be a no for me, dog. Anyway, they have a match with Final Testament, the biggest jokes in WWE, in my opinion. I mean, nobody does more 50-50 booking or just straight up losing without being jobbers than Karrion Kross, the AOP, Final Testament. And again, they kind of spin these webs, spin these weaves, spinning. Yeah, did that. It totally came out natural. This is totally my natural hair too. But, Leo is James's favorite turtle. Yeah, I think they wanted to show some love for Mikey and Donnie, but still, it is kind of weird just to have 2 out of the 4. Got to stay hydrated. Anyway, I've talked about it on the pod before. I like the story of possibly turning Xavier Woods, or at least having him break apart from Kofi Kingston, the feeling of inadequacy towards, in comparison to him, as well as the fact that they don't have Big E anymore, or at least temporarily. Who knows? Another comment here. James says, Cross has been a WWE bust. Enjoy him everywhere else he's been. Not CYN, control your narrative. I don't think anybody enjoyed Control Your Narrative unless you were a big Trumper. I don't know. That's just the vibe I got. I didn't actually I never watched it, so I can't tell you. But politics aside, yeah, Karrion has definitely been a bust. I like that he came back with hair. I like that they gave him a group, but they definitely just feel like a watered down Judgment Day with no Hispanic people. Like, that's literally what it feels like. Like, they traded in Hispanics for, I guess, the AOP. Are they South American? Splinter is my favorite turtle. Definitely, we should. The white guy with the red hair shouldn't be talking about race. So yeah, Splinter is a great character for sure. But regardless of race, Final Testament, they kind of just suck, and I don't think it's working. I think it was worth a shot. I'll give them credit for trying, but it's not working. And even if it ends up being, by the way, the match they had was whatever. The main thing I wrote was Odyssey Jones looks great as always. I like him. Keep up the good work, Odyssey Jones. Charismatic guy, got an interesting look. Very, very strong without, suspecting. Sometimes those guys are so strong, you're like, I think that guy's on steroids. You don't get that vibe from Odyssey Jones. He seems like a good cat. James says Canadian and Albanian. Okay. Definitely, Albanian would have been on my list of guesses. Canadian would not have been one of mine. But thank you for the info, James. Never want to, I'm just going to take a swig before I dig my hole deeper. Anyway, what was I saying? I love all the children of the world. Anyway, the main note I got here was standard tag match. I don't like how I think they're overselling the Xavier Woods might turn bit. Like, I liked it the first week where he was just kind of like Kofi, like thanks for the save, Odyssey Jones, but like how did this all come about? Like this is kind of random, and like I already talked about it on the pod, like that made sense, but they're just kind of like hammering it too hard now, especially on social media. It's like just show that show that Xavier Woods is going through the motions and maybe just going along with it, but he doesn't seem as hyped as Kofi. That's all you have to do, like to make this a satisfying ending. If they actually go through with it, maybe they won't go through with it. Who knows? But it certainly feels like he's at least going to turn on Odyssey Jones, and maybe Kofi Kingston, like that's enough to like make Kofi Kingston turn his back on Woods. I don't know. We'll see. But that's obviously what they're going with. Back to this match at the end, Karrion Kross does one of those things like he runs on one side of the rope, one runs on the other side, like he's trying to like speed up, get power, and then he just hits Odyssey Jones with like the most basic clothesline ever. And I don't blame Karrion 100% because Odyssey Jones is such a big dude, so it'd be hard to get any kind of like hit. But we see Kevin Owens take crazy bumps. Like Kevin Owens, I think, would have done a flip if he had gotten hit with one of those, and it would have looked awesome. But if Odyssey Jones can't do a standing flip, which is fine, just do it on Xavier Woods, or don't do that move at all because it didn't look good and it stood out to me in a bad way. But the match ends with Odyssey Jones hitting a black hole slam on one of the AOP guys. I don't know if it was the Albanian guy. I don't know if it was the Canadian guy, but he gets the 1, 2, 3. Final Testament looks like a bunch of fucking idiots again. The best part definitely had to be with what's his name, Paul Ellering. It's been like, no. It's like old man yells at cloud. This is great. Love that. At least sell it. James defending Odyssey Jones that says Jones and KO have such different body types, though. Yes, I'm just saying they're both big, and like KO would have handled that differently. So maybe like Odyssey Jones shouldn't have even been set up for like a move like that, because again, it didn't look all that impactful, and the setup was too much, for like such a little payoff, is what I'm saying. What else we got in the comments? The group has 2 different managers and neither speak at all. Interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're talking about, I was thinking that, yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Scarlett Bordeaux is just like I was about to say she's a mouthpiece, but that's not what she is at all. And I didn't want to say something as vulgar as she's a piece of, whatever. She's there to look good. And she looks good. She always looks good. She used to do the singing. Like she would she would sing or at least lip sync the intro. But I think they kind of changed the intro, so she doesn't do that anymore. And yeah, it is weird to have 2 different managers who don't speak and also don't really get involved in the matches too much. Yes, we already said that. Okay. So yeah, the Final Testament looked like a big bunch of dumb idiots. Let's wrap this match up. Here's what I'll say, wrapping it up. If the Final Testament does manage to persuade or influence Xavier Woods to break up from Kofi Kingston, does he join them? Because they're a bunch of losers. Even if they helped him see the light, why would he want to join them? What, just because there's another group so you won't be alone? They're a bunch of losers. They haven't done anything since they came back to WWE. They all had successful NXT runs. AOP had a sliver of, I'll give them better than sliver. They had a couple minor successes on the main roster in their first run. Karrion Kross has failed now on the main roster twice. Maybe you don't call this a failure yet, this one, but you can at least call his first run on the main roster a failure, even though it wasn't really his fault. But it's still, it's like, even if he breaks up with them, do you really care? Because if the Final Testament, if Karrion Kross had been winning some of his rivalries, which he didn't win a single rivalry. I've been over this before. When he was on SmackDown, he didn't win a single rivalry. He won some matches, but never took 2 out of the 3. As he then made this group, and they have not won a single rivalry. So who gives a shit about them and why they're not worth joining? So why would I care if they got a more successful tag team to break up? It's just not. There's intrigue if they were a successful group like the Judgment Day, who aren't even that successful. A lot of times they do a lot of 50-50 stuff with them, but they're still a relevant group that are in the main event scene. They're a prominent group and have been through all their iterations. Final Testament is not. So this is not a great spot for either group to be in. Final Testament and New Day. So let's just move on. Hopefully they do too soon. Miz has a match with Bronson Reed, who killed R-Truth last week. It's a no DQ match that Miz requested before the match starts. Miz is talking to Adam Pearce, where Adam Pearce approaches Miz backstage, is like, do you really want to do this? Miz is like, no, I don't know if I really want to do this. And it's kind of funny, but then he has an impassioned speech about not wanting to do this, but needing to do this. He doesn't have many friends in WWE. R-Truth is one of them. And when you mess with my friends, like, I'm going to defend them. And I'm like, you know what? That was a decent promo. Like, good for you, Miz. Everyone always prefers you as a face. And I think we're all waiting for the heel turn. I mean, I think they kind of feels like they might have put the brakes on that for now. Maybe they don't have enough. They feel like they don't have enough faces on Raw. I haven't actually looked at the roster and seen how many guys you have on each side, but that might be it. But then he has a pretty standard inoffensive affair against Bronson Reed. Like it's what you'd expect out of a, middle of a show, no DQ match with 10 minutes. Though I wasn't counting the time, but it felt like about a 10-minute match. Not super compelling, but I would call it entertaining. Like, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I wasn't like watching it and been like, I wish I was watching something else. It was just kind of like, oh, I've seen this before, but it's not bad. And hey, there's some real Miz haters out there, especially guys who usually do the Monday Night Raw shows. And I have to say, no complaints here. And I will give a little prop to the Miz. One of the spots he did, you got the standard affair, the kendo sticks, the steel chairs, the tables. He grabbed the kendo stick and he did his normal like running lariat to the corner, where his legs go through the second rope and he kind of just like sits there. He did that with a kendo stick and it was pretty effective. It looked good. It made sense. I've never seen Miz do that before. So, hey, if Miz came up with that, great. Whoever came up with it, props. That was. I thought that was a note I made, and it was a satisfying ending with a table in the corner, and you didn't know which guy was going through it. You figured who was going through it. Bronson almost messed it up. He gave him like a Death Valley driver into it, and Miz basically caught the end of it, but like the middle of the table also collapsed. So not the most satisfying table break, but it did break and it broke fully. And then it ended when Bronson Reed hit the tsunami and got the 1, 2, 3. It looked like Bronson Reed was going to do more damage afterwards, but instead, Braun Strowman, the big son of a bitch, comes out to defend Miz. And so Bronson Reed, he gets off the top rope because he was going to do all the tsunamis. He's standing on the apron against the ropes. Braun is in the ring. They're looking at each other. They got the stare down. Big meaty men slapping meat. That's what we're getting next week. These two are going to have a one-on-one match. We'll see where it goes. I mean, Bronson Reed's been on a roll. Braun doesn't seem to win big matches anymore. Who knows? It makes me miss, I was about to say Eric Rowan, but it's making me miss Eric, or Ivar. Which one? I miss them both. I miss both the Viking Raiders. But I guess Hansen. Hansen and Rowe, but Hansen more, because he was doing some cool single stuff. But who knows? Maybe Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed will get to do some creative stuff next week. Let's hope so, because that could be fun. Next up, we got Dom versus Damian, and Rhea and Damian had a little segment backstage. They're like, "Oh, this is a trap," and Damian's like, "Yeah, I know, but like I'm ready, and anything to get my hands on the Judgment Day, taking them out one by one, doesn't matter. Like as long as you'll be there with me." And Rhea's like, "Of course." So Damian comes out. Judgment Day comes out behind him, tries to attack him. He's ready. He turns around, hits them. It looks like they're going to get the upper hand. Rhea enters as well. She's about to hit Dom with the Riptide against the announce table. Liv comes out with the steel chair, bashes Rhea, and the Judgment Day kind of get the upper hand. And here's where it gets interesting. The crowd starts a "We Want Jay" chant, and then they start a "Yeet" chant. I mean, if you remember the last time I did a Raw reviews 2 weeks ago, we saw that Jay was talking to Sammy about, doing a tag team again and taking on the Judgment Day and getting those tag titles. So Jay does have skin in the game here, but he does not get involved, which was a shame because it also just seems kind of dumb because let's face it, is Damian like the biggest guy in the Judgment Day or, formerly in the Judgment Day, regardless? He's the biggest guy. He's been on a roll. He's been world champion, the most recent. And Rhea is an absolute monster herself. So the two of them, awesome. Could they take on 2 members of the Judgment Day? Sure. 3 members of the Judgment Day? I wouldn't bet against it. 4? 5? I don't see that happening. Like, that would be like a miracle. Don't get me wrong. Rhea's had miracles before. She won War Games. I don't know if they were doing a 4-on-4 that year or it was a 5-on-5. I think it was a 4-on-4, but it was essentially a 2-on-4. And she won that War Games match. So, but still, they knew what they were going into here. This would have been the perfect time for Mommy to sweet talk Jay, get some backup. At least have 3 versus 5. I think 3 of them versus the 5 of them, if the Judgment Day is not expecting Jey Uso, that could work out, but it didn't. And the Judgment Day looked dominant, and they piled Damian and Rhea on each other, like in the ring, and like held up Damian's head like they were about to like cut it off and go like this. It was pretty cool and not as graphic as I described, but it was kind of badass. Next up, we have an ad. They're doing a Women's Speed Championship. It'll debut, I think, on September 5th on X. Who cares? This is a good comment from James. Thank you for James for pulling it up. I was about to do it myself. I saw someone say that narratively, it just feels like Edge should be involved, and I can't disagree. Yeah, the original Judgment Day versus the new Judgment Day. That would be awesome. Unfortunately, WWE has said they have no intention or desire to work with AEW in any capacity. And also Edge, Adam Copeland, is injured. So it's really not on the table in multiple senses. That would be perfect. But sometimes the stars don't align in life or in pro wrestling. We see it happen a lot. It's tough. I still think they can make a compelling story here, but they got to figure it out. It's also interesting because Jay, we know he's going to have to do bloodline stuff. So do they want to really get him involved in like 2 faction wars, like one right after the other? I don't know. But we'll see. Back to the Women's Speed Championship. I think the regular one they have kind of sucks. I think the champion should hold the championship when they're on Raw or SmackDown, just only defend it on X. Because do people watch it on X? I don't know. I'm an old head. I don't do anything on X really. And so I've basically forgotten about the Speed Championship. If you put the guy on television with the championship, and tell me, hey, he'll be defending this title this Wednesday on X, I'll be more likely to watch it. That's just my opinion, though. We had rumors that there might be a women's mid-card title coming to WWE, the same way that there's the women's mid-card title in NXT, the Women's North American Championship. Maybe that's this. Maybe we're getting two. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, I wrote a lot of notes for this match. It's the women's title match. It's Pure Fusion Collective, PFC, which Pat McAfee immediately joked and said, not to be confused with KFC. And I'm like, well, now you've just completely derailed them. I know, Pat, you weren't trying to be malicious. You're just being your funny, goofy self. I get that. I like it. I thought it was funny, but you also make them look like shit when you do stuff like that because they're not over. If they were over, you could get away with jokes like that. But they're not. So it's that thing, more like Pure Fusion Confusion. Pure Confusion Collective? I don't know. The name was a universal bust from day one. I agree, but this doesn't help either, James. It's not as bad as telling us that Shayna Baszler makes soup, was it? Was it she makes soup or sauce a couple weeks ago? Just bad. Anyway, let's get back to the match. It's the two of them, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, versus Io Sky and Kairi Sane versus the tag champs Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. It starts off damage control. They do some decent, it's a decent start with Kairi Sane hitting a suicide dive and then Io Sky hitting a suicide dive. And Io's was awesome. The camera almost missed hers. They caught the very end of it, and then luckily they showed a replay right before commercial break. And, that's great because she was going super fast, so I don't even blame the cameraman for missing, the setup for it. But it was just so cool, and seeing the replay was totally worth it. So, the way to think on your feet there. Give them props for that. We go to commercial. We come back. Kairi's in the ring. She's trying to get to her corner. She's getting stopped. Yada, yada, yada. Io gets tagged in and she cleans house, taking out both teams. It's great. The crowd's really into this. Io's just kind of on fire tonight. Was it her greatest performance? No. But was it solid and was I into it? Hell yeah. So was the crowd. So don't argue with us. If I can keep this wig on the whole thing, I'll be a happy man. Anyway, let's see. Oh, this was my complaint. So Io and Kairi, they do a double. It's not quite a superplex, but it's more or less a double superplex on. I think it was Alba Fire, and then they go for the pin. Only one of them, and I think Isla Dawn comes in and breaks up the pin. It wasn't that big a move that I felt needed a breaking up the pin. It felt more like we got to get close to the end of this match, so let's have a breakup of a pin. Even though it's no DQ, you can break up any pin you want. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I just thought it was just kind of I don't know, that could have just been an easy kick out. Anyway, at this point, it just feels like everyone's getting their spots in. Even the leader of Bullshit Collective, Sonya Deville, she got some shots in, and Michael Cole was sure to tell us that this was no DQ. And at this spot, when everyone's getting their spots in, Kairi Sane hit a great spear. The PFC take out Io, and then Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler start going back and forth. Yeah, no from the crowd. There's even one guy with the sign just going back and forth. Michael Cole is telling us the history of these two women, and he talked about it before. And it's just really cool. This was a cool moment that if you've seen the start of these two gals, these two women, these two superstars in the Mae Young Classic to where they are now, am I a big Shayna Baszler fan? No. But do I think WWE should do more with this this history, this rivalry, yes. They shouldn't beat it to death like Randy Orton and John Cena, but more of this, please. It was great to see the two of them fighting each other, that it was a specific spot in this match that was, set up to be like that, but also not to be like, what's the word? Nostalgia porn. Yeah, it wasn't that. And also that Michael Cole was also narrating and telling the crowd, if you're not aware, like these two have a long history against each other. And it was just cool and fun to watch them, going at it. So anyway, it gets towards the end of the match. Kairi Sane goes for the insane elbow on Shayna Baszler. She gets tagged by Isla Dawn. No. Alba Fire. God, I know which one is which. I just don't remember who tagged in. Anyway, Kairi goes for the elbow, but Shayna puts her knees up. So Kairi's hurt. Shayna puts her in the Karafuda clutch. And then I think Isla Dawn, who initially tags in. She goes into the ring, tags in Alba Fire. She grabs Shayna. She hooks them all up. And Isla Dawn goes for the big splash. And Shayna gets pinned. And the tag champs, the Unholy Union, they retain. I kept going back and forth between thinking they were going to lose to the KFC or I thought Kairi was taking the pin regardless. But my question, one, I'm happy that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn retained. They haven't had the titles long. They haven't defended them much either. I don't want them to have a super long reign unless it's a really productive reign. That's always my rule. If you have a super long reign, make it productive, but also don't have a super short reign because then you look like goofs. It's like, what's the point of putting it on you in the first place? I'm looking at you, DIY, and bad creative decisions. But I digress. I like this women's match. This women's match was solid, told a good story. I enjoyed it. There was some cool spots. All-Star was definitely Io Sky, but also props to everyone involved. And give me more of this. And just guess who Sonya Deville didn't have a match. She wasn't involved tonight, more or less. I think that speaks volumes. I also don't know where this group goes from here. Like, what was the idea of this group? You put this group together, there's trios of women. There's no trios titles, although maybe they'll do a trios tournament. That was one of my predictions. I assume Sonya Deville would want to go for the singles title, but that's on Liv Morgan. She's not more popular than... I wasn't even going to say it because I just hate Sonya Deville as a character and a wrestler, but not as a person or a woman. I just hate Sonya Deville. I hate Sonya Deville. She would want to go for the world title, but Liv Morgan's holding it. Liv Morgan's way more popular and successful and a better wrestler, and she's also a bad guy. So the two of them aren't going to go against each other unless there's like a triple threat. But even then, there's no way. And then you want Shayna and Zoe to go after the tag title, sure. But this was their night to win it, and they didn't. And then not only did they not win it, they're the team that got pinned. So honestly, I hope they just break up next week. I got to be honest. Like, I don't want this to be one of those Final Testament stories. Oh my God. Look, I think you tried to do something with Sonya Deville. I think it was worth a shot. I would say unless you can get Mandy Rose back right now, just take Sonya Deville off TV. I'm not saying you have to fire her. If you've got some other ideas for her, great. But as a wrestler, as an on-screen character, I think there's way more talented people there that you have that are worth investing time and money in, and not her. Sorry, Sonya Deville. But that's what I wrote. That was the most notes I wrote on anything. Okay, we get a backstage segment. It's Jackie Redmond and Jey Uso. She says, "It's been a minute since I've talked to you," or something. I've paraphrased that. I thought that was really funny because of the rumors of the two of them canoodling, getting drunk at the hockey game. They're two consenting adults. That's fine, but it was still funny. It wasn't like too much, like, with something else. I don't know, but I got a little, like, 13-year-old grin out of it. Like, Jay, he cuts a pretty good promo. Just lets us know Sammy took the week off and gave him his blessing to, like, go after singles gold as opposed to tag gold. So I guess they're putting either they're putting a break on that or they're putting the Kai back. But I fucked up the Seinfeld reference. God damn it, Matt! You have one chance, and now I don't know if I'm cursing a lot tonight or not, but I don't know if they put the brakes on that. We can fix that in post, right, James? We're live. Oh, I'm kidding. I'm not going to go off screen. I don't know if we're putting the kibosh on the tag team scenario with Sammy and Jay, or we're just saving it for later. We'll see. But Matt screwed Matt. You're right, James. Anyway, Jay will be in the number one contender tournament for the Intercontinental Championship, which we heard about earlier from Braun Breaker. He had a pretty good promo as well. I just didn't write about it. Jay does his thing. He says yeet. He leaves. Jackie Redmond is just like she's just wrapping up, and then she says yeet, but like Jay went behind her and like did that as she was saying it. It was kind of funny and unexpected. I enjoyed it, especially because I know some people think the yeet stuff is kind of nauseating, but this was good. The energy was good. It was there. Then we go to the announce table. Cole lets us know that this is Pat McAfee's last episode for now. He's, he does his thing with the NFL still, and so it's football season. He's going to be leaving for a couple months, and Cole got pretty emotional. It looked like he might cry, and it was kind of sweet. And they had a little video package for Pat McAfee. I like Pat McAfee. I like that he's kind of refreshing, and you don't know what he's going to do. He seems like a little bit of a loose cannon, a little bit of a wild card, perhaps. The bad boy of commentary. But I think sometimes less of him, sometimes less is more. And sometimes I like a little bit of less Pat McAfee, like on special occasions, that kind of thing. R.I.P. to Pat. That's what James says. But yeah, we'll see. Speaking of commentators, who I would love to see on commentary next week? Big E. One, Big E's great in everything that he does. And two, we know he's a good talker. Like I said, he's great at everything. You already know that. But three, next week is Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. Big, meaty men. Where did big, meaty men slapping meat come from? Our boy, Big E. Come on. So you knew that. I'm just, I'm talking, when I say come on, I'm talking to the WWE writers and whoever's in charge. They already have the replacement. Fuck him. I don't even know who it is. I'm sure they're fine. Fine. Then just get Big E to come in for that single match. I mean, come on. If they can get Titus O'Neil to almost ruin the triple threat 5-star match of Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Gunther at WrestleMania, then they can get Big E for the Bronson Reed, Braun Strowman match next week on Raw. And I'm sorry, Titus O'Neil. You do a lot of things well. You've carved a niche out for yourself in WWE. We'll all remember and love the going through the ring apron. But commentating, please never do it again. Like that's not your jam, man. You have plenty of talents, but commentating is not one of them. Let's put it this way: if old Uncle Dave could put a 5-star match and like rate it on commentating, or if commentating had a factor in his star system, that 5-star match wouldn't be 5-star matches no more. So anyway, I've gone on a tangent long enough. In the main event, Randy Orton took on Ludwig Kaiser. It was a pretty standard affair. What you'd expect. it was inoffensive, but it wasn't as entertaining as the no DQ match, in my opinion. Interesting note, like Randy Orton did win. He hit the RKO out of nowhere, got the 1-2-3. It was 11 o'clock. I was watching on like the USA app. It went to like the next program as Gunther was sliding into the ring, and they actually started hitting each other. It went to the next thing, and they're like, "Oh shit, Raw's not off the air." It managed to course correct and go back to Raw, but Raw just ended with them like just beating each other. Like, I don't know if they ran out of time, or they've done that before where like a show will end with just like no clear conclusion, just like they're just beating the shit out of each other, you know? So I just thought that was an interesting note, whether maybe that was a time thing, or maybe just like, oh, we don't need one person running away from the other, or we're not getting everybody from the back to separate this because everybody went home. Who knows? I don't know. But that was Raw. And I only had to watch 2 hours, so I was happy. This is the closest hat to me. Does this work? This actually does work, but I'm going to take off the wig now. That's much better. So we will go to Fanatics Fest. So I was at Fanatics Fest. I was this weekend in New York City on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was pretty cool, I would say. Somewhat similar to WWE World, which was, sponsored or created or whatever from Fanatics. So they had the superstar entrance, which was cool. I do think it needs some tweaks, honestly. Like, you don't get like a really good, like, it's a fun thing to do, but the video quality, I feel like, is not quite there. Like, you're better off having them do the video, but also like have one of your boys like on the side at the guardrail, take like a closer video of you doing it. So I think that's something I would hope by next year's WrestleMania. I'm sure they'll bring it back. Again, they had it at WWE World. They had it this weekend at Fanatics Fest. Excuse me, sorry. The idea is cool. I think the execution needs a little bit of work. Because I think just the video quality is it's not great in my opinion personally. I think there's room to improve. And they had a few artifacts from WWE. They had all the titles on display, a lot of the sports titles, which makes sense because Fanatics Fest is both sports, like Major League Football, National Football League, pro football, baseball, all those guys. Yes, Chris Leclerc, Bailey was there. We saw her. They had all the teams' titles, like the title belts that they've recently come out with. So that was cool. That's a cool crossover they had. I think they had some free meet and greets, which I thought was a cool idea because not everyone, like, can most people like pay to get in? Sure. But not everyone can also throw like $100 towards an autograph or a signing. So it was cool that, like, say, Holly Holm was doing a free meet and greet. But I wish they had also done that with WWE. Like, I wish they had, their big names like Cody, Bailey, Rhea Ripley, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Hulk Hogan. Have those guys, you'd be your big ticket items, those guys that for the most part sold out. And that was the other thing. Apparently, from what I heard, only WWE were the people that sold out. Like, I think other people, not that people did badly, but WWE is what sold out there. So there might be more of I would say WWE, Fanatics would probably keep doing WWE World, but who knows? Maybe there would be room to do this like 4 times a year, maybe with the big 4 events that WWE has. They might want to invest more in WWE than in the what people consider to be legitimate sports, because I think WWE did better this weekend. What what else was I going? Oh, about the free signings. I would have liked to have seen some WWE guys as well. Like if you had some of the not bigger names, but guys that people still like DIY. If DIY was there and they were doing a free signing, boom, I would be there immediately. Like I haven't seen those guys in years. Like I met them at a Valve. Valve's not even around anymore. Years ago. So I'd love to see them be like, oh, I made you like some art years ago. And I'm sure they don't remember, but you can still bring up like, hey, we met once and it was great. It's really good to see you again. Congrats on your recent success. So that's, I think, my suggestion. Was anybody here in the comments? Was anybody at Fanatics Fest? Let me know what did you like? Me and James were there. Me and James hung out a little bit on Sunday. I was there Saturday and Sunday. We've got content on our Instagram as well as our TikTok that you guys can check out, and we've got more coming. I've just did 2 reels that I'm going to be posting. Definitely post one tomorrow and probably one on Wednesday. So definitely stay tuned for those. I had a good time. Like I saw a lot of people up close. My only complaint is like we all applied for press and I got approved, but it was only like a week and a half before the show. Like it would have been better if they had sent, and that was a lot of people. A lot of people didn't get approval for press till kind of late in the game. It would have been great to get like a month in advance. And then I could be like, oh, I'm definitely going. I'm going to buy a Rhea Ripley photo op. Because by the time I got approved, like everybody I wanted to meet was sold out. So like small complaint, but that's, I think overall it was successful and fun event. I don't think $50 is too much to ask for that. As long as you're satisfied with being able to see someone and hear them speak, but you're probably not going to meet on anybody unless you spend the big bucks and you spend them early. But yeah, those are my notes for Fanatics Fest. So this has been the Market Down podcast. I'm Matt Cascone, Mean Streak Matt on Instagram. And yeah, we do this multiple times a week. I've been covering Monday Night Raws. We got James in the gym. Well, we've got Rev on Wednesdays for Dynamite. And sometimes I join him as well as James. And then James does TNA. We call it the Gym Pack Zone on Thursdays. And then sometimes I do Fridays, typically not if I'm doing Mondays, but you never know. You never know when I'll swing by. I'm a bit of a wild card myself. But let us know what you want to see. I mean, we're definitely growing. We're about to hit our subscriber numbers is going to be enough for monetization. So we'll be able to be unlocking some new tiers, some tier list content, as well as merch. And let us know what you want to see out of stuff like that. We've talked about, we do giveaways now. We've talked about doing maybe doing some bigger giveaways and making those like in the tier list. We've talked about different kind of videos, like instead of just doing reviews on the shows that have just happened, do you want to hear stuff about the Attitude Era or the history of a specific superstar? Like, I don't know, Kurt Angle, who's your favorite? Let us know. Would you want to see more cosplay stuff? I do the cosplay stuff pretty casually, but that's something that I definitely do. And would you want to see more of that? Please let us know. We're easy to reach. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Market Down Pod. Chris, I hope to see Jamie Hayter return this Sunday at All In. Chris, that would be really cool. I would wonder if Britt Baker loses and she's getting beat up by what's her name now? See if I'm on WWE mind right now, so I can't even think of the people on AEW. Camille, thank you. Yeah, will Britt Baker lose to Mercedes Moné and then get beat up by Camille only for Jamie Hayter to make the save? That would be cool. I'd love to see that. I think I think the people at All In would love to see that. It makes sense to me if Jamie Hayter is, feeling good, feeling healthy, and medically cleared, then by all means. But yeah, that's our episode tonight. And like I said, keep us on your you keep your notifications open, your whatever the kids call it. I don't know, man. I'm an old head, but like I said, tomorrow, Mark It Down Pod on Instagram. I will definitely have a reel up, more from Fanatics Fest. Some cool stuff. You guys want a hint? You want a hint? You want a hint? Oh, big reveal, huh? Yeah. James, just write yes for me, please. Tomorrow, I will do a reel for the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul press conference. That was at here we go. Now we got the yes. We got the yes. So yeah, that'll be WWE Hall of Famer Mike Tyson, Jake Paul press conference. I was there, covered as press. It was wild being up front and that close to those guys. So much crazy stuff. So I will post a reel about that tomorrow. So check it out. Till then, guys, thanks for joining me. I'm Matt Cascone, Mean Streak Mac. I got to do the oh man, Jay.